The reality is a fire hall which could collapse in an earthquake. We've known that. We have an engineering report to that effect. So right away in 2006, we set as a priority an upgrade of the fire hall. And the first thing we did is establish a reserve fund. And we've been saving for that ever since. Another issue is we had a hazardous slopes development permit area in our OCP, but we didn't have a good map. And getting a good map has proved to be very challenging, and we finally bit the bullet and bought some very detailed topographic data that will now allow us to identify the steep slopes on the island and create a development permit area that protects development in those areas. We passed a noise bylaw in 2007. This year we set up a task force for the fire hall upgrade, and they're currently have contracted out to an architectural firm to do a needs analysis for that fire hall, how big, how much, working with the fire chief and his staff. And in progress right now, we've got a fire sprinkler bylaw underway and a burning bylaw. Both of them have come to council. Both of them we felt, boy, needed more work. We've sent them back to staff with consultation with the community, but they're underway and they're advanced. Environmental protection, of course, essential to the island and priority for all islanders. Back in 2006, we really set a new bar for rezonings with the Greenways West rezoning. 50% of the land was dedicated as park. Of the remaining land, 30% was covenanted for protection of the vegetation. The house sizes are limited to 2,400 square feet. This is all voluntary by the developer. Reduced standards for the roads, narrower roads, very high green building standards for any of the buildings, and basically a cash donation to the community, which is a form of development cost charge, but voluntarily given, that amounted to $2,000. So that's the new bar in the community. We also established green building standards for all our rezonings. It's a policy, but it's our expectation for all new rezonings. In 2007, we, along with 110 other communities across British Columbia, signed the Climate Action Charter in agreement with the province. And really, it recognizes the tremendous issue that climate change poses to British Columbia, the Bowen Islands, the world. And we committed to three things that will have ramifications for a long time. We committed to first report on our greenhouse gas emissions to report and monitor to the community. Secondly, we committed to becoming a carbon neutral municipal operation by 2012, which is a challenge. But we're all in it together. There are 110 municipalities trying to figure out how to do this, so it's a big learning exercise for everybody. But thirdly, very importantly, we committed to produce developments that were compact, complete, and energy efficient. So we're currently tasking our APC and sustainability groups to think about how we're going to achieve those things. We passed an anti-idling bylaw this year. We established a Greenways Committee, which really will be our municipal agent for advancing the cause of Greenways. Now, Greenways, I should say, are really a different way of saying interconnected parks that manage recreational connections and ecological connections. So it's a big picture view of how we protect the environment. We have established greenhouse gas targets. We've lined up ourselves with the provincial government and with Metro Vancouver to take on very onerous targets. Reduction by 1/3 by 2020, and I think by 80% by 2050. So these are, nobody knows how we're going to get there. I think we're all in this going to go. But it is the way we're all going and everybody's thinking. So we're in it as well. We've got an inventory going of our greenhouse gases. We're currently working on an OCP amendment, Greenways OCP amendment, and we've developed a GIS database that's allowing us to be strategic about our acquisition of parklands and trails and such. So we're quite excited about that. Fiscal health and financial planning, of course, you know, that's just essential to good, sound municipal life, living within our means. Our reality is that we have a lot of substandard infrastructure. We inherited that as a municipality. Also, we're a young municipality and we've sort of been building our functionality. But the first thing we did as a council was to start to save. Because we knew we had some big payments coming down the line and we started to save. So we did that for the fire hall. I talked about that. We started a new reserve fund for civic facilities. last year, as well for old general store maintenance. We're just putting money away, saving for the day when we're going to have to come up with money for repairs and refurbishments. We set in motion a finance and budgetary task force, and they've produced two really nice pieces of policy work for us, one on budget and financial planning and one on capital planning. We started a new reserve fund for this carbon neutral plan. We don't know what we're going to have to pay for these offsets that are essentially going to be required if we don't meet that carbon neutrality, but we're starting to save for it. And we also are anticipating, when we got into this capital planning policy and we worked with staff, we realized we were not saving enough. I think we've been good savers, but the reality was we still weren't saving enough for the cumulative effect of roads and fire hall and docks and old general store and such. So we're proposing in 2009 to save the equivalent, I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily have to be a tax increase, but it's got to be the equivalent amount of 1.5% tax increase, which is, just as a point, an additional $30,000, $25,000 to $30,000 for the municipality represents an equivalent of 1% tax increase on the tax roll. So that's sort of a $45,000 a year savings for our infrastructure. So that we'll move there to, this, what you might call almost the underbelly of the municipality. Key things, but sometimes not that visible. We updated our energy plan in 2007. We started a working group to work toward a sustainability framework for us. They're bringing back a report in May. They delivered very quickly a draft strategic plan. It involved a community meeting of about 70 people, great brainstorming effort trying to figure out sort of where we should sort of set our policy directions. We had a great response to the Team Power Smart effort. We came 8th in British Columbia. I mean, we had more people subscribe than the cities of Kamloops, of Kelowna, of Prince George. And one of the goals there really was to show to BC Hydro, work with us. We're good, we're motivated, and we did that. And as a consequence of that, BC Hydro came back to us, and we'll be working with them as a pilot community in one of the new energy conservation initiatives. We don't know the details yet, but we know we're going to meet with them in June and get going in that. We had a community group, a great community group, come to us and say, hey, we need a reuse-it store, we need a home for it. We said, great, let's put it on municipal land by the recycling depot. We raised the earth flag there at the school this week, basically as a symbol of our efforts on this carbon neutrality. And we're currently working with TransLink on bus services and with BC Hydro and Energy Conservation. Cape Roger Curtis, this is dear to the hearts of many in this room. When we took this over, it was a hot button issue. I can remember, I think our first council meeting was sort of filled with folks with big concerns about this. And one of the things we did very quickly was we said, well, what is the public interest here? And we clarified that. And by council resolution, we said, protection of the environmental protection of the shoreline and public access to that shoreline is our top priority. And that has been a very clarifying goal all the way along ever since in our ongoing negotiations with the owners. We didn't agree with them that access through the Crown lands was a good idea because they didn't provide us a comprehensive plan. We said, show us the comprehensive plan so we can work with you. And they decided to do that. In 2007, we started a comprehensive planning process. And we're in that today. And it's an ongoing negotiation. Our roads, I think roads is a subject which we're all experts on because we drive them every day and we all have our opinions about whether they're in good shape or bad shape. But we're working hard on the roads. We started off with a 3-year capital upgrade plan in 2006 from the Planning and the Public Works Department. In 2007, we reorganized our roads operations and staffing, and that was sort of an important step forward. We took over winter roads maintenance from Capilano, the contractor, and we did that because we recognized there would be cost savings and we could improve the service that we were getting from them. The Public Works established a road priority plan for snow plowing, and this year we increased our roads reserve by $70,000 to bump up our